Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulihil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we are going to continue with Surah As-Saffat. This is Surah number 37. Last time we did ayat 1 through 10 and today inshallah we will cover ayat 11 through 21. Alright, so let's start with the learning objectives. There are four major learning objectives. The first one is, what rational argument does Allah give for the occurrence of the day of judgment? So rational argument means logical argument, something that makes sense. So that's the first learning objective. The second, what bad behavior of the deniers of the hereafter is mentioned? Then number three, what response was given to the objections of the deniers of the hereafter? And then number four, what will the deniers of the hereafter regret on the day of judgment? So those are the four learning objectives. Now let's recite the ayat, and as usual I'll first recite and then I will go over the meaning. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. فَاسْتَفْتِهِمْ أَهُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمْ مَنْ خَلَقْنَا إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُمْ مِنْ تِينٍ لَازِبٍ بَلْ عَجِبْتَ وَيَسْخَرُونَ وَإِذَا ذُكِّرُوا لَا يَذْكُرُونَ وَإِذَا رَأَوْا آيَةً يَسْتَسْخِرُونَ وَقَالُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ. Okay, now the meaning. فَاسْتَفْتِهِمْ, then ask them, أَهُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا, are they more difficult to create? أَمْ مَنْ خَلَقْنَا, or those things which we have created? So Allah is asking a question here. Inna khalaqnahum min teenil lazib. Indeed, we created them from sticky clay. Bal ajibta wa yaskharun. But you wonder at their denial and they mock at your message. Wa idha zukkiru, and when they are given advice, la yadhkurun, they pay no heed to it. Wa iza ra'aw ayatan, and when they see a sign, yastaskhirun, they make fun of it. Wa qalu, and they say, in hadha illa sihrun mubin, this is nothing but obvious magic. Okay, now ayat 16 through 21. أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَإِذَا مَنْ إِنَّا لَمَبْعُوثُونَ أَوَآبَاؤُنَا الْأَوَّلُونَ قُلْ نَعَمْ وَأَنْتُمْ دَاخِرُونَ فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ فَإِذَا هُمْ يَنْظُرُونَ وَقَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا هَذَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ هَذَا يَوْمُ الْفَصْلِ الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تُكَذِّبُونَ. Okay, now the meaning. إِذَا مِتْنَا, is it when they have died, وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَإِزَامًا, and become dust and bones, إِنَّا لَمَبْعُوثُونَ, shall we be indeed raised to life? So this is the question that the kuffar asked. أَوَآبَاؤُنَا الْأَوَّلُونَ, and our forefathers of aforetime too, in other words, our forefathers who have already died. Qul na'am, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say yes. Wa antum dakhirun, and you shall be disgraced too. فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ, So it will only be a single shout. فَإِذَا هُمْ يَنْظُرُونَ, and all of a sudden they will begin to see. وَقَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا, and they will say, woe to us. هَذَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ, this is the day of judgment. هَذَا يَوْمُ الْفَصْلِ, it will be said, this is the day of judgment. الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تُكَذِّبُونَ, which you used to deny. Alright, now we'll take one ayat at a time, starting with ayat number 11. فَاسْتَفْتِهِمْ أَهُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُمْ مِنْ تِينٍ لَازِبٍ. Then ask them, are they more difficult to create, or those things which we have created? Indeed, we created them from sticky clay. What rational argument does this ayat give for the occurrence of the day of judgment? So I mentioned earlier, rational argument means something that is logical, something that makes sense. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who can create the grand universe and the fantastic creatures in it, can also resurrect humans after they die. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created humans from clay, has the power to resurrect them after death. So resurrect means to raise up again. And remember, when we started the surah in the last class, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swore by the angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talked about the heavens and the earth. He talked about the stars. So sort of the point being made here is that if Allah can create all that, He can create this entire universe, why is it so difficult for Allah to create human beings? So when we think about it, the answer is that Allah, who has created this whole universe, can easily create human beings, and He can easily create us again. And that's the point that's coming up. Creating something for the first time is difficult, whereas making it a second time is relatively easier. Relatively easier means that it's comparatively easier. Even when we do something, if we do something for the first time, it's hard, but then when we do it again, it becomes easier. We should note that easy and difficult are mentioned only for human understanding. So for us, things are easy or difficult. Initially, when we do something new, things are difficult, but as we keep doing it, things become easier. This is for our understanding. In reality, nothing is challenging or difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever He wants something to happen, He says be, and it occurs, it happens. Okay, ayat number 12. بَلْ عَجِبْتَ وَيَسْخَرُونَ, but you wonder at their denial, and they mock at your message. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and saying, Bal, which means but, ajibta, you wonder. وَيَسْخَرُونَ, and they, the kuffar, they are mocking. Mocking at what? Mocking at the message which the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving. Now the question is, what did the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wonder about? He wondered about the polytheists who denied Allah's power and resurrection in the hereafter. He was surprised because the polytheists denied the resurrection despite such clear arguments. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives very clear arguments, and the polytheists were rejecting these arguments. So who are the polytheists? I hope you know what this word means. Often this word is, so the people who are called the mushrikeen, people who worship many gods, they are polytheists. The word poly means many, and theist means one who believes in God. So polytheists means those who believe in many gods. The people of Makkah were polytheists because they believed in Allah, but they also believed in many other gods who they thought were partners with Allah. So polytheists means those who believe in many gods. What was the Meccan polytheists' behavior when they were called to believe in the hereafter? They used to make fun of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ma'azallah, may Allah forbid. They did not believe it possible that humans would be resurrected after death. They did not believe that the day of resurrection would come, or that they would have to give an account of what they had done. So this is a very important point. The mushrik people, the polytheists, they believed in Allah and they also believed in many other gods. But they did not believe that they will be raised after they die. They did not believe that there will be a judgment day where they will have to answer for their deeds. And since they did not believe in the hereafter, they would do whatever, because they thought that if they can get away in this world with their behavior, then there will be no answerability. They will not have to answer for their deeds in the next life, because they did not believe in the next life. When the Prophet ﷺ told them about the next life and the hereafter, and that there will be a message, that there will be punishment for those who do bad things, then they would make fun of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And in ayat number 13, this dialogue is described by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا ذُكِّرُوا لَا يَذْكُرُونَ. And when they are given advice, they pay no heed to it. So the Prophet ﷺ through the Quran is giving them advice and they pay no heed. Pay no heed means not listening. So in English, the phrase is paying a deaf ear. So they would just pretend that they are not listening, or they would listen and then they would make fun of it. But basically they would not pay heed. They would not take the message seriously. Which bad behavior of the deniers of the hereafter is mentioned? When they are advised, they do not pay heed to it. So this was the bad behavior. Now a practical aspect here. Advice benefits those who pay heed to it. Otherwise, no proof, reminder or warning can help anyone. So if you are told something good, somebody gives you good advice, that only benefits you if you listen to the advice. If somebody is giving you good advice, or somebody is giving me good advice and I don't listen to it, then that advice will not benefit me at all. And if you think about it, with the Holy Prophet ﷺ, it's the best of people giving the best of advice. And yet there were some people who ignored that advice and it was their loss. On the other hand, those who listened to the advice, they became excellent people. They became people like Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Osman and Hazrat Ali. So they are the people who took the advice and followed it. And then look at the status that they got. Okay, ayat number 14. وَإِذَا رَأَوْا آيَةً يَسْتَسْخِرُونَ. And when they see a sign, they make fun of it. So there are many signs. Some signs of Allah are those that we see around us. So the earth, the heavens, the stars. So those are signs of Allah. And then the ayat in the Quran are also signs of Allah. Remember in an earlier class we said that the word ayah means sign. So every ayah in the Quran is an ayah. It's called an ayah. So every ayah is a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When these ayat were recited to them, this advice was given to them, they would make fun of it. What attitude did the deniers of the hereafter have when they saw the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When they saw the miracles Allah had given the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They made fun of these miracles. Ma'azallah, Allah forbid. So instead of listening and instead of being impressed by those miracles, they would make fun of them. Now a practical aspect. Suppose a person's wrong ideas are firmly implanted due to incorrect upbringing or an unfavorable environment and due to false beliefs. In this case, even the most significant miracles cannot change these evil thoughts and diseased hearts. Such people always make fun of the proofs that the people of truth give. So there were people with these wrong ideas, they had upbringing which sort of put wrong ideas inside them, and then when the Holy Prophet ﷺ would give them the true message, they would just make fun of it. And that happens today also. But something very important here, we should not make assumptions about somebody else. We should follow the truth ourselves, and we are also responsible for sharing this truth and giving good advice to others. We should not just assume that the other people are bad. We should always Try to give advice. And this is what the Holy Prophet ﷺ did. He would give advice to everyone. Even people like Abu Jahl, who was the worst of the kuffar, the Prophet ﷺ gave advice to him over and over. If we look at the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, which will come later, or the story of all the prophets that we've studied, they would go give advice to everyone. So they would not assume that somebody is bad. They would still give Allah's advice to everyone. Okay, now ayat number 15. وَقَالُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ. And they say this is nothing but an obvious magic. So the kuffar, the mushrikun, the people who were denying, they would say that this is nothing but magic. So the signs that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was describing or showing, the kuffar would say that this is magic. So what was the opinion of the deniers of the hereafter about the miracles of the Holy Prophet ﷺ? They said they were nothing but pure magic. Ma'azallah, Allah forbid. Ayat number 16 now. أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَإِزَامًا أَإِنَّا لَمَبْعُوثُونَ. Is it when we have died and become dust and bones, shall we indeed be raised to life again? So which objection of the deniers of the hereafter is mentioned over here? They used to say that when they have died and become dust and bones, how can we be raised again? So this was their argument. They had never seen anybody ever rise from the dead. So they are saying that when we die, we will become dust and bones. And how did they know that? Obviously, their fathers, forefathers had all passed away, and they saw that after many years, the body decomposes, only the bones are left, and the body becomes dust. So they found it impossible to believe that human beings can be recreated after they have become dust and bones. And if you think about it, even today, many people find this very hard to believe. So if you go ask people around you, there will be some people who believe that we will be raised, but there are others who either don't believe it or are very doubtful about it. But we as Muslims need to have 100% conviction that Allah is going to raise us again. And in this surah, Allah gives us arguments. He is saying that He has created the entire universe. If He's created the entire universe and He has created us once already, then it is easy for Him to create us again. That's the conviction that we should have. Okay, next, ayat number 17. أَوَآبَاؤُنَا الْأَوَّلُونَ. And our forefathers of aforetime too. So what did the Meccan polytheists express about the hereafter? They used to wonder if their forefathers who had died and whose bones had rotted, would they be resurrected? So again, as I mentioned, they found this very hard to believe, that people who have died, their bones are left, even the bones start decomposing, the bodies become dust just in a few years. So they found it impossible to believe that they will be resurrected, they will be recreated. Ayat number 18. قُلْ نَعَمْ وَأَنْتُمْ دَاخِرُونَ. O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say yes, and you shall be disgraced too. So what response was given to the objections of the deniers of the hereafter? It was said to the deniers of the hereafter that they would be resurrected. On that day, they would be humiliated because they denied the hereafter. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to respond strongly to the deniers and to tell them that not only will they be raised again, but when they are raised again, they will be disgraced. The deniers questioned rudely and mockingly. So they would make fun of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They would be asking questions, but they would not ask questions in a respectful manner. They would ask questions in a rude manner, and they would be mocking the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This ayat, however, answers them in a very straightforward manner. It affirms that they and their forefathers will be resurrected and humiliated. So they are asking, will we be resurrected? And they are making fun of it. And the simple answer is, yes, you will be resurrected. Your forefathers will be resurrected. And because you are denying the hereafter, you will be humiliated when you are raised again. So ayat 19 now. فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ فَإِذَا هُمْ يَنْظُرُونَ. So it will be only a single shout, and all of a sudden they will begin to see. So what state of the Day of Judgment is mentioned in this ayat? What is mentioned is that it is effortless for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to establish the Day of Judgment. There will be just one loud shout and all of humankind will be resurrected. And again, resurrected, as I mentioned before, means recreated. So all of us will come back into our human form. What is meant by a shout? It refers to a blowing of the horn on the Day of Judgment. That is Israfil alayhi salam. So he is one of Allah's great angels. So Israfil alayhi salam will blow the trumpet for the second time. So we've discussed earlier or in other parts. So there is an earlier blowing of the trumpet when the world ends, but this is the second blowing of the trumpet where there is resurrection. So all the people who have died will again be brought to life. So that's the resurrection. And all will stand up before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا هَذَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ. And they will say, woe to us, this is the Day of Judgment. So this is what the deniers will be saying. During the life of this world, they would deny the hereafter. They would make fun of anybody who talked about the hereafter. But now, in the hereafter, when they have been raised, they will say, Ya wailana, woe to us. So, woe to us is like Old English. It's just expressing anger, frustration. It's, oh my God. So, there are different expressions used today, but they will be extremely sad with themselves for having denied the hereafter. So, Ya wailana, hada yawmuddin. This is the Day of Judgment. So now they will have to believe because now they have been resurrected. So what will the deniers of the hereafter regret on the Day of Judgment? They will say, oh, woe to us. This is the Day of Judgment. So in a way, what they are regretting or what they are sad about is the fact that something that they were always rejecting in this world, that has turned out to actually be true. Okay, now the last ayat for this class, ayat number 21. هَذَا يَوْمُ الْفَصْلِ الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تُكَذِّبُونَ. It will be said, this is the Day of Judgment which you used to deny. So what will be the answer to the deniers of the hereafter on the Day of Judgment? It will be said to them that this is the Day of Judgment you used to deny. Why is the Day of Judgment declared as the Day of Judgment? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decide all matters correctly on the Day of Judgment. So there will be judgment, Allah will decide, and obviously Allah is the perfect judge. He will decide perfectly. Now some words of knowledge. There are many names for Qiyamah or resurrection. These names are related to the things that will happen on that day. It is called Yawmuddin, which is the day of retribution, the day when people are compensated for what they have done, because people here will be given recompense. So they will be given compensation, they will be given judgment. It's also called Yawmul Fasl. Yawmul Fasl means also the Day of Judgment, because people will be judged or separated based on good and bad deeds. Sometimes when you read an Arabic book, one segment is separated from another segment, and in between it says Fasl. So Fasl means separation, and separation is related to judgment because on the Day of Judgment the good people are separated from the bad people, or we can say that the good and bad are separated. Alright, so that is it for this lesson. We have learned many things, and I'd say one of the most important things we've learned is that we should have 100% conviction, yaqeen, in the Day of Judgment and in the fact that Allah is going to raise us and we will be answerable for everything that we did. And if we did good things, we will get a good reward for that. And if we do bad things, then we will be punished for that. May Allah make us among those who do good deeds, who do good things in this life, so that we get rewarded in the hereafter. That is it, and inshallah I will see you in the next class. All the best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.